Greetings all. Today we're going to get into understanding the laws of the unincorporated associations. I have seen a lot of you in the chat, and praise God for that, who are inquiring about how to put that together. You're noticing that in your state, they do not provide such things. Maybe you might find unincorporated nonprofit associations, but that is not what we're in business to do. We're in business to make a profit. So we have to understand the difference between the other organizations out there and how it differs from 508c1a. There is a slight difference, but you can connect your association as one if you so choose to place that information inside of your articles. So we're going to go over a few parts here. I have part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 7. It's not going to be that long, but I'm going to show you exactly how to put this thing together, how to merge it with your certificate of trust so that you can utilize this association as one of the trustees. Gives the bank the authority to allow them to deposit monies in the name of that association into your trust enterprise account. Now, this information is going to be stemming from the sophomore class, okay? The sophomore class and up. So if you have not reached that yet, finish the freshman, get to the sophomore class, proceed to finishing your estate EIN entity reclassification procedure. Please do that because that's going to lead us into some additional information in the future with that EIN number, such as building credit and setting your trust up to do what's called a abandonment of property claim. Okay, we'll get into that in the future, but for now, finish the sophomore class and now you can proceed to this right here. So part 1, unincorporated associations are vastly different from LLCs and LLPs, sole proprietorships and corporations. Now, these notes will be attached to the video inside of the description, including every single piece of Word file that I'm offering here. Okay. In fact, unincorporated associations resemble a trust. There are a handful of states where the Secretary of State Department allows you to file the name of your association with them, while the other states do not, but only allow nonprofit associations, which is not what any of us are interested in. You may be if you want to do something like charity or some type of foundational endeavors of philanthropy. Maybe you can go down that route. Now, the whole point of this discussion is to link the unincorporated association with your trust enterprise to operate as your trustee or an authorized representative to open the bank account and withdraw monies on your behalf only by written consent. Now, this is not limited to associations, but LLCs and corporations as well. Now, your trust enterprise is not limited to how many trustees it could have. Now, just a side note here. Going back to the sophomore class material regarding the LLC or corporation restatement process, some states will provide confrontation saying they will not allow an incorporated business to be reclassified as a business under the jurisdiction of your 9(8) Express Trust. It happens on the federal level via 8832 entity reclassification, but the state has no interest in losing annual dues. So if this is the case for your state, simply create an unincorporated association and process a DBA in the county stating the name of that LLC or the name of that corporation is also doing business as that name of your unincorporated association. Okay. Now, with this method, any monies generated on the previous LLC or corporation prior to the creation of your association, it can be covered in the current taxable year under the 9A Express Trust, because of course we are going to process the 8832 for any of your association's EIN number. I hope that's clear. Okay. Now, what is an unincorporated association and why would you use it? Well, to be honest, we have Wikipedia here. They've got some good information on it. If you click that link there, it's going to take you to this page. It's under English law. An unincorporated association is a group of people who come together. And here are the reasons. For a common purpose, intending to create a legally binding relationship between themselves. The range of is a group of people who come together for a common purpose, intending unincorporated associations is limitless, but typical examples are an amateur football team who agree to hire a pitch once a week and split the cost, residents of a street who agree to pay into a collective fund for street sweeping or etc., or a trade union or a professional association. Did you know the NBA, the NFL, MLB, the National Golf Association, all of those are truly unincorporated associations for profit. And some of those have established nonprofits to, proceed as a front for charity, but ultimately those shareholders are part of an unincorporated association. And this is what you must do, because at the top of the pyramid here, everything here in America is a pyramid scheme, everything, right? Somebody is always at the top who's going to take majority of the grain off the top. And for you, that's going to be your 9A Express Trust, the withholding agent. Now, unincorporated associations are cheap and easy to form. For example, in California, it's only $25. Require a bare minimum of formalities to bring them into existence, and can even be formed without their members realizing it. There are also extremely flexible, with examples of tiny associations of just a few people, and national organizations with thousands of members. Okay, now you could check out this entire page here, but that's for your own research. We're going to keep it moving here. So let's go back. We can also take a look at Title 31, CFR 306.85, Private Corporations and Unincorporated Associations. It's a short paragraph here. So it says, securities registered in the name of or assigned to an unincorporated association or a private corporation in its own right or in a representative or fiduciary capacity or as nominee may be assigned on its behalf for any authorized transaction by any duly authorized officer or officers. Now we're talking about registered securities here. This is where you must go and get a permit from your local banking authority, and they only give permits to declarations of express trust. So your trust will have this registered security, and then you may have that security registered in the name of a private corporation, such as a corporation you have established in another country, or an unincorporated association here in North America, right? All of that is going to be connected to that 9A Express Trust, giving it the power and authority to register its securities. Now, you also will have the opportunity to create securities that are not registered, and that's under Rule 144A. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go back to the notes here. Now, like I said before, unincorporated associations do not fall under 508c1a because it is not an association or a convention of a church, unless you state that in your bylaws. that it is a church or it's related to church functions. Okay. If you do, then your tax exemption comes from 508c1a. If not, your exemption comes from the withholding organizations such as the Express Trust. I would much rather it come from the Express Trust. My personal opinion. Now, down in the description of this webinar, you will also find the book titled The Law of Unincorporated Associations and Similar Relations. I want you to pay attention to a few key points in that book, a couple of chapters, such as the Declaration of Intention, that's on page 62, the express stipulation in contracts with third parties, that's page 129, remedies of creditors, that's on page 132, and trustees of associations for profit on page 133, followed by governmental control over associations for profit on page 139. You want to see how the government can control that association or how they don't have control. But I'm going to read the chapter on the law of applicable. Law applicable. So let's go to that book here. The law of unincorporated associations. Okay, the law applicable is just below the table of contents on page 5. Right here. So let's start from here. The problem with reference to all of these groups in this application to them of principles of law originally developed with respect to relations between 2 or 3 individuals. In the first class, the law of partnership. In the second class, the law of trust. In the remaining classes, the law of agency. Corporations, having been recognized from the start as possessing individuality under the fiction or of artificial personality, were able to develop a law very much their own. Unincorporated groups have developed hampered by rules of law which seem logically applicable, yet rules which have been formulated with slight regard to the problems presented by individuals in the aggregate. The ingenuity of modern draftsmen has done much to relieve unincorporated groups of legal restrictions, hindering their growth. But these documents themselves have created new conundrums as yet unanswered. As previously stated, a distinct tendency is noticeable both in statute and decision to treat associations for profit as organizations intermediate between partnerships and corporations. Such classification will tend to develop for them a law of their own, though to some extent these dicta have been due to lose reasoning. Statutory recognition of the situation gives to the more recent of them a position of authority. The importance of the interest involved in these modern cases seems to justify fully the classification which we see developing. Another attempt by the courts, encouraged by the digesters to create a new legal relation, is the use in recent cases of the term joint adventure. In almost every instance where this term has been applied, the relation in fact was that a partnership, and the court has applied the ordinary rules of partnerships called for by the facts, though using this new term as though the relation was not that of a partnership. So far as the courts seem to have had distinction in mind, they have applied this term to partnerships formed to engage in a single transaction instead of in a series of transactions such as constitute the business of an ordinary commercial partnership. All right. These cases have usually involved only a few individuals and so do not particularly concern this treatise. In an important recent decision, however, the term has been applied to a syndicate of numerous members of the sort that has frequently been held in a partnership. In the case in question, the syndicate was held not a partnership but a joint venture, and the court expressed an inclination not to apply to it all the ordinary rules of partnerships. It would seem that the court had in mind either the sort of relation which is herein described as an unincorporated group, herein described as an unassociated group, or what was really a trust. So there you have it. They're telling you that an unincorporated association is mirroring the likes of a trust, an unassociated group. So you have a trust within a trust within a trust. Express trust at the top, express trust enterprise the second, and an unassociated group, which is like a trust, as your tertiary organization. All right, so go through this book and read it. It gives you some full understanding of what this really is. And this is why I would opt out of utilizing the 508c1a rule to govern my unincorporated association, because that is backed by religious rights. And religious rights is a term that's controlled by the Vatican. And we know that the bar is an officer of the court, which is in league with the Vatican, right? The association does not have to be a part of religion. It can just be a part of educational purposes. I would never say that because of my religion, I am doing such things. No, it's because of my belief. Two different things. A belief is much stronger than a religion. A religion is what has been given to you, right? And your belief comes from above. That only you can understand that. No one else can take that from you. So now, down in the description, like I said, in this webinar, you'll find this book. We already talked about these pages that I want you to read. So let's go down to part 2. Now we're going to look at the actual bylaws of your document. Now you can provide articles of association if you like. Some states already have forms for that, like California. And we're going to use that as an example that you can use for your banker in case your state does not have that form for you. Okay, so let's take a look at the bylaws. Zoom in here. Hope you all can see that. So in my example, this is a template, right? You can use it. You can make it stronger if you feel. You can make it less stronger. It's up to you how you want to shape this thing according to what your purpose is for your organization. All right. Now I've called it the Cavite de Excommunicado. Cavite means warning of. You know what that means. If you guys have all seen John Wick, the third one, Parabellum, they said this word all throughout that movie. One of my favorite movies. All right, so let's look at Article 1. We're talking about the name and principal offices. So the name of this unincorporated association is the Cavite de Excommunicado. And we're listing the addresses here. Okay. The purpose. This is where you can tailor this section according to your liking. It says, the association is an unincorporated association organized for purposes of operating a professional association to promote the interest of the association's members as well as other members in the profession of property management, executory assistance, and banking administration on behalf of its clients. In this case, the Excommunicado Association, its client is the trust enterprise, because it's going to be a trustee for that enterprise. In the several counties of Southern California, change this to whatever state you're in. Also, that's a country, right? The client may transfer all titles, interests, deeds, mortgages, leases, or agreements to the association for any period described within the management agreement for lawful consideration. Specifically, this association is formed to, among other things, and this is where you can list everything that you want to talk about. If you have a PMA, if you have other members that are going to be a part of it, you can just describe that and just continue here. F, G, H, G, babysitting, whatever you want to do, dog walking, it doesn't matter. Whatever business that you're going to get into, nurse facility, List it, right? List everything that you're going to do, but keep it general. Don't go into great detail for each point, but keep it general. Section 2.2, the governing law. We're talking about the association shall be governed by California Corporation Code. See, in my state of California, this was the code that represents unincorporated associations. So, for example, let's try North Carolina, right? North Carolina unincorporated associations. Or we type in code. And the code for them is 1-69.1-1, right? And it's in the Civil Procedures Code, Article 6. So they talk about lawsuits against them. So let's try to find another one. Can't find another one, then you would just list Article 6 and keep it at that. So let's see here. Definitions, capacity, uniformity of application and construction. It could be in there. Nonprofit associations. You see, nonprofit associations, they keep on doing that. So you're going to have to find it. Find that section. If you can't find it, my best plan of action would be to just do this. Just list Chapter 1, Article 6. Do not be specific because they change these codes around periodically. And if they change it and you listed this in your provisions, then it's not going to apply. So just do Chapter 1, Article 6 and leave it at that. Okay. Also mention your Constitution. Remember, get the one that doesn't have all the amendments to it, which is preferably your Constitution before 1933. All right. If you're going to have this under 508c1a, you would use that. If you're not, and it's not in association with the church, take all this off. So I'm going to have this highlighted. All right, let's go down to Section 3.3, annual meetings. A meeting of the members shall be held at least annually in December of each year at such time and place in the county of whatever county you're in, whatever state, as the board of directors may determine. Okay. Go down here. I just want to highlight a few points here. We're talking about the regular meetings again. Now, you're going to have at least 2 members sign on to your association. At least 2. Remember, it is an unassociated group, and you cannot have a group with just one person. At least 2. Okay? You want to have yourself as the president, and you want to have someone else as your secretary, and you may want to list the third one, which will be the trust itself. All right? So let's look at this here. Talking about our secretary. The secretary shall keep or cause to be kept at the principal office in the state of California the original or a copy of the association's bylaws as amended to date, and shall have the authority to open accounts with express trust, trust companies, national associations, these are banks, credit unions, insurance policies, and or foreign offshore accounts as permitted by the board of directors. Okay, let's go down here. Let's keep it going. We're talking about insurance and indemnification. You should be familiar with that based on your hold harmless agreement with your sole foreign trustee. All of this goes full circle. All right. I'm going to talk about keeping proper books and records of everything. If you're going to have your association sign off on property, it needs to keep a good record of all of the monies that you've collected as a landlord and all of the monies that you've spent for repairs. Okay, and that's going to be it. Then lastly, we're just going to have a certificate of secretary of the association. And this is your secretary signing off saying, I am the duly elected, qualified, and acting secretary of the Cavite Excommunicado, a California unincorporated association. The foregoing restated bylaws consisting of 13 pages, right? This is 13 pages. Of course, I'm going to have to bring this back up. Do that by doing this here. 13 pages. Were adopted as the bylaws of the association of the regular members of the association by electronic ballot, pursuant to which 10% of the regular members voted in favor of such adoption, effective as of August 2nd. So whatever date you're going to initiate this agreement, you change. List the name here, the name of the secretary. In my case, it was my name, but it's not supposed to be you. All right. Now notice in here, we did not state who are the members and shareholders and beneficiaries and all that. Did you know inside of unincorporated associations, you don't have to say nothing. You don't. You can keep that private. And how do we enforce this? Same way we do with the trust. We only listed the trust as the beneficiary, and we offer trust certificate units like stock certificates to an LLC to all of the people that we want to have equitable interest in this trust. So you do the same thing with this association. The president, the secretary, whoever, the trust itself, are going to hold a certificate. On that certificate, it's going to say 80%, 23%, 10%, whatever you want to do. And that's how you enforce it. Just state within here that you're going to do that. I'll leave that to you to figure out which section you apply that to. Okay. And then have your secretary sign off. That is the unincorporated association bylaws. Now, I talked about getting into, well, for part 3, we're going to talk about the statement of articles of association. It's a simple explanation of the name of the association, including its members and location in the state of business. Some banks require that you bring in both the articles of association and its bylaws, so it's best to be prepared. A good template to follow for the articles is California's UA-100. Many of the wealthy families, they go to California and utilize unincorporated associations in league with the tax-exempt express trust. I know because I learned this information from some of those families. And all of a sudden, the cost of living is not an issue in states like New York or California or Hawaii. So when you know how to execute filings with an experienced CPA, expenses are going back to you to be reused for next year's expenses, which is how unincorporated associations grow in profits each year. So let's take a look at this form here. You can create your statement of articles off of this form. Of course, you're going to have to take some items out, make it according to your state, but it's just $25 in California. Incredible. So what I've done, I've kind of made a template for that for you guys. So you can use this one. Let me log in or zoom in. We call it the Statement of Unincorporated Associations. You'll list the name. This is the general purpose. We call it the Declaration of Intent. And you find this phrase inside of that book. And the laws of unincorporated associations. This is coming directly from your bylaws, word for word. All you do is change your state. You must list the officers and members. I would be the president. Such and such would be the secretary, right? If you have a director of administration, you can have that. You can have your family working together this way. You can have your CPA as a chief financial consultant, or your tax guy who knows how to file 1041s and Form 990T. Just a little hint here. I'm going to show you that IRS form. Tax exempt. It's exempt organization business income tax return. Right? Now what is this for? To report unrelated business income. Figure and report unrelated business income tax liability to claim a refund of income tax paid by a regulated investment company or a real estate investment trust on undistributed long-term capital gains. Request a credit for certain federal excise taxes paid or for small employer health insurance premiums paid. Report unrelated business income tax on reinsurance entities. You're going to have a whole lot coming back to you in this category here, because you know this is gas, right? So we would use that form, and your CPA will fill it out to get you a refund on all of the expenses that you've done. Okay? We'll get into that later. So, the principal office address is, in my case, is California, but you change it. Right? Now let's look at this. Principal office address in California, if any. If any, in item 2, list the street address of the association's principal office address in California and proceed to item 4. So I would put the address here, right? Leave item 3 blank. Don't fill nothing here out. Leave it blank. Exception. If the association has no principal office address in California, leave item 2 blank and proceed to item 3A. So, principal office. Where are we stating that the principal office is? Of course, it's operating in your state. So you're going to provide an address here, right? Now, if you want to list a mailing address that's second to the principal, go ahead and put that here. But if it's one and the same, like your virtual mailing box, just leave it here and you're done. You need to have an agent for service of process, right? If it's an individual, the street address of the agent of service of process in California. So it can be a corporation, but that corporation, I believe it does not have to be in the state that you're doing business in. It can be any state. Okay, you can list the corporation's name, and please list their file number in whatever state that they're registered in. But let's say it's just an individual. Like, let's say you guys used me, Avery. Well, you got to put my address here that's in California. Now, who's going to execute it? Notice how I didn't leave it blank like most forms would. The information herein is true and correct under the laws of the United States of America, not just the United States. And you're going to put your state here, which is one of the several independent states of the United States of America. That's how you call your state, as one of the republics. That's the true name of it. Have that person sign, date it, and print the name with their title that's associated with this form. Most likely the secretary. Okay? So that's your statement. Now we have to get into how to obtain your EIN number. Okay, so first you're going to select Begin Application, select View Additional Types of Entities, and select Other Nonprofit Tax Exempt Organizations. So let's go to that link there. It takes us to EIN online. Let's get this number. Very important how you fill this out here. Begin application. You're going to select, like the instructions said, view additional types, continue, click other, continue. Now read this. It says what it is. A nonprofit organization is an entity organized and operated for one or more of the purposes listed under 501 of the IRS code. But they're not also telling you that it fits under 508, right? And it fits under the laws of trust. They don't give you all the detail here. And then they're going to tell you what it's not. A business or organization organized for profit. They're lying. They're lying. Let's move on. What is the purpose of getting this EIN? It's going to be for banking purposes. All right. Now I'm going to be the responsible party for this one. You may use someone else. You may use the person that is going to be authorized to go into the bank and open this up for you. And they would click, I am a responsible and duly authorized member or officer having knowledge of this organization's affairs. Right? Click that. Street address. I'm going to list a care of name here. It's going to be just like that. Sure, that's fine. I don't want to use what I did here. Okay. Now, legal name of the tax-exempt organization. That was Cavite de Ex Comunicado Uninc. Association. Just like that. There's no trade name or doing business as county. This would be Seminole. And when did this start? I'm going to say currently. We're going to do March. Continue. Now, do you have any of this information? Gambling, excise tax, employees, dealing with alcohol, firearms, any vehicles over 55,000 pounds or more? No, all the way down. Continue. Now we have to tell them, what does your business do? Right? You got accommodations, construction, finance, food service, healthcare. Even though you may do these things, you're not going to click it, because if you click it, that's going to put you under the jurisdiction of their codes and statutes. You're going to select other, and they give you the opportunity to manually write what you're going to do. All you need to say is unincorporated association. Receive letter online. Continue. Cavite de Excommunicado Uninc Association. That's the actual name. Alright, so we have a number. There is no 6 after the dash. There is no 7 after the dash. Now you would think there would be, because it said this was a tax-exempt organization. So as you see, you still have to do entity reclassification for your number here. So you grab that and look how they presented it. Cavite de Excommunicado Unincorporated Association, care of, and then my name. And that's the address. Now, thank you for applying for an employer identification number. We assigned you EIN ... This EIN will identify your entity, accounts, tax returns. Why did they say tax returns twice? I don't know. And documents, even if you have no employees. Please keep this notice in your permanent records. Now, I like the wording with this here, because with this type of wording on this CP 575, it doesn't state by a certain time you have to file tax returns. You see that? Why? Because it truly is a tax-exempt organization. But they're not going to place it under TEFRA. They want you to place it under your church or your express trust. And that's what we're going to do. Okay? Now, let's go back to the notes and finish this up. Now we have to look at how to tie this in with our banking certification of trust. Now you have that also. I believe that's in the sophomore or junior class. When you open up your trust enterprise, we have to list the trustees and our authorized representatives. So let's go there. This should look familiar to you, right? Zoom in here. So the settlor, we have your name. We have the trust protector, that's your name as well. We got the trustee, the Cavite de Excommunicado. And the authorized rep is going to be whoever is assigned as secretary or whoever, right? In this case, we got Lord Charles III of the Cavite de Excommunicado Unincorporated Association. It's defined as an individual authorized under state or other applicable law to act on behalf of a beneficiary or other party involved in the appeal, with power only to open said trust account, deposit monies on behalf of the trust, and withdraw only by written consent of the trust protector for each withdrawal transaction. You want to take this information here, copy and paste, and add it to your certification of trust. Remember, the one that was brief and didn't have all this language? Take this here and list it. So you have trustees, but you also have authorized representatives to link them together. This way, Lord Charles can come in and give his social security number, and the bank will know that Lord Charles, he can deposit at will. But as far as withdrawing money from your trust account, he has to bring in some type of written consent, and we're going to go over that for him shortly. So, in this section, you're going to list your name, express trust name, and of course the unincorporated association's name. They all have the power to deposit monies in their names into the trust enterprise account. Okay? Of course, change this to your state. Change this section here accordingly to your state. It doesn't say the same thing everywhere. It does not. For example, let me show you New York. New York is the Uniform Prudent Management of Institutional Funds Act. That's the law that governs trust and trustees in their state. Okay, so that was the act, and then they also have a separate one, Prudent Investors Act, which is going to cover trustees and fiduciaries and how to do that. So be careful, make sure you find the right one and list it here. We also have the Treaty of Marrakesh. That's the first treaty that allowed every continent to have some type of commerce and Department of Agriculture. The Treaty of Tripoli, the treaty between the United States of America and the Sultan of Muscat. That's Article 11, which is the Articles of Confederation as well, and the Constitution of the USA as well as the UCC. Now, your state may say Chancery, your state may say Equity. You already know this. Okay? Who signs? You, the settler, right? Now, if you did not list yourself as one of the trustees here, of course, you're going to take that off. I would take that off. You can always remove this person in the future and add yourself, but for now, just remain to be the settler. Okay? And, of course, the authorized rep, which is Lord Charles. Now, get it notarized, because some banks are saying it needs to be. Take the path of least resistance. They'll notarize it for you in the bank. Just bring this with you. So you can sign this, let's say 3 weeks ago. And then you come in with this today, blank, and you say I, which is a settler, right? Or your authorized rep who's going to walk in. I, Sir Charles III, do hereby declare that the signatures to the foregoing instrument are true and correct, and I serve as a witness that the above parties executed the attached instrument on whatever day it was 3 weeks ago, and the month, and then Sir Charles would write their name here, just to help you out. And I'm not talking Charles Barkley, right? Sir Charles is right here, and the day he's signing in front of the notary. And the notary will sign the rest down here. It should be free when you go in and do that. So there's that. Now, part 6. Every business needs its fictitious business name statement to bring into the bank, listing its officers and or trustees. Some states call it an assumed name or doing business as. So let's take a look at how to complete this for the association, especially if you are restructuring an existing LLC or corporation, right? Remember we talked about restatement. If you're having issues with that in your state, just restructure. It's the easiest thing to do. All right, so let's take a look at the DBA for Los Angeles. You're going to put the returning information here. So it's Lord Charles, 12345 Wayne Avenue, Gotham City, New York, 55555, right? Let's say the Express Trust that I'm working with is Hilton Express Trust Enterprise. It's going to be doing business as Cavite de Excommunicado. And you want to make sure it matches, because on the CP 575, it had this wording on it. Unincorporated Association. Right? I believe it was like that. Same thing here. In box 2, now you're going to mention the name of your existing LLC or your corporation, but you don't have to put the LLC or corp at the end. Just the name. Doing business as. Right? Just like that. Have the principal address. Now the principal address has to be within the county where you're filing. Has to be here. Gotham City, New York, blah, blah, blah. County, Arkham. I've been watching a lot of Batman videos on YouTube, so forgive me. Registered owner, right? This is going to be the last and first name of your foreign trustee, because you want to connect all of this to your 98 number, the express trust that has your foreign trustee. And then put the foreign address of the trustee's address in their country. Okay? It doesn't matter. Remember, we're telling them the principal addresses within the county and the state and the continental of United States of America, but the registered owner is located in a foreign country. Now, when you put their name here, take this off where it says sole trustee's name. You cannot have this listed there. They're not going to want you to do that. Matter of fact, let me just highlight it. Let's do pink. I don't like pink. I didn't do it. Should be to do it now. All right, let's do red. Oh, the whole thing. All right, so just know that. Take this off. Sole trustee name. Don't put that. They will reject it and send it back. Don't do that. That's just a note for you guys. Now, this business is conducted by, of course, a trust. If it wasn't by a trust, it would be an unincorporated association other than a partnership. And why did they say that? We just read in the book. Because it's an unassociated group. A group that's unassociated is not a partnership. It's very close to a trust itself. Remember when I talked about marriage contracts? Look what they have here. A married couple. So you can do that. We'll get into that later as well. But check off trust. Some forms don't have these selections. So you're going to have to take note of all these different entities. And they'll just leave you a line. And you have to write what it is on that line. So that, in your case, that would be a trust. Just write a trust. Now, what is the date that the registrant commenced to transact business under this fictitious business name? You're going to put the enterprise date. The date that you obtain your EIN number for your enterprise. Put that here. Now, how do you sign this thing? It's going to be your sole foreign trustee signature. Last, first, middle. Take this off, remember, and put the title right here, just trustee. I've had it returned saying we don't want the word sole on there. Just put trustee. Fine. And then provide their signature. Your trustee should have provided you an electronic signature that you can attach to your computer, or go get a stamp and then stamp it. You don't have to fill anything like this out. It's not a corporation or an LLC, so leave that blank. Boom, you're done. Go get that done. Why? Because you're going to take this recording with you to the bank. You're going to take the statement of articles to the bank. You're going to take the unincorporated bylaws to the bank. And you're also going to take your EIN number that you received from the IRS to the bank. Those 4 things is what you need, including, last but not least, the certification of trust that shows the association as an authorized rep to the bank. Right? All right, let's go down to part 7. So, referring back to the banking certification of trust, it stated that your authorized rep can make deposits and withdrawals, but the withdrawals are only by way of written consent per transaction. This is properly done by an authorization to withdraw form that your rep will bring into the bank, which is necessary because when the banker set up the trust enterprise, it notated to receive withdrawal authorizations from whomever is listed as a rep outside of your name as the settler. So this is highly sought after because those seeking to do business or to do banking but were unable to do so because of judgments or unlawful spousal and child support pillaging their bank accounts, now they can. When an agency such as the state of or the IRS searches check systems to find which banks are utilizing your social security number for personal or business checking accounts, they will not find you or your monetary assets. simply because you avoided personal liability using the trust enterprise with an authorized rep and their social security number. So you need to make sure that they don't have anything going on with child support, spousal support, or anything where they have personal issues, right? Because if they have personal issues, the state will run a check on their name and they're going to be taking your money out of that trust account. See, we can stop taxation, but as far as garnishments, it's still a social, which they still have some right to that social because that social belongs to them. So make sure you use somebody who's clean, super clean. This is why trust companies and holding companies are so sought after, because they do this process for people where they put all their money into an account, a representative from a trust company opens it for them, and they sign a contract saying that we'll protect your money for you. That's how they do it. They're not worried about child support, spouse support coming after them because their money is in trust by a protected individual. And if it's not, then they'll just sue that person, and I'm sure they have some form of a surety bond to back up the lawsuit so that they'll get paid but still can stay in business. So your rep will request a debit card in the name of the settlor and will also have a card themselves, but of course you may take their debit card to limit their access to your money, and you can just use that card or put it aside. All right, so let's take a look at that authorization to withdraw form, and we are finished with this discussion. All right, here we go. Authorization to withdraw. We have the date. We have the settlor under declaration, the Hilton Express Trust Enterprise. All right, this is the address, and this is attention to whichever bank you're going to have your representative go to. It says, to the representative of Truist Bank, the National Association. I, Cottrell Avery, the settlor of the Hilton Express Trust Enterprise, have hired Cavite de Excommunicado, an unincorporated association described on the certificate of trust filed with your financial institution, to open the above mentioned trust account on behalf of the beneficiaries of the trust, and hereby grant the unincorporated association's representative, known as Sir Charles, or whoever name that is, the authority to withdraw $2,000 from the account number on the 5th day of March in the year 2022. This withdrawal authorization shall be filed only during business operating hours of the financial institution, not to exceed the 5th day of March in the year 2022. Please see my hand and seal before a notary public authorizing my consent for this withdrawal. Right, now you can take it a step further where you list the identification information of your authorized rep, right? The name on the card, the issue date, the expiration, and the number. So you can say, please pay attention to that to make sure that this is the person that I want to come into the bank. Right? In case of information or query in this relation, you may call my trust office at whatever number you want. Cordially, Avery, the settlor, and then you do a certificate of acknowledgement, right? This is done by me. You'll have this ready to go to give to your authorized rep. They'll walk in with it to give to the bank with all these documentations. Please do this as well. Let's say give this a number. Auth number, and then make whatever you want, because there are going to be additional numbers in the future, and you want to back these numbers up by the trustee minutes. So give it a number. So the next time he comes in, let's say it's April 5th, this will have a different number here. And of course, this will be a different amount. Okay, so that's what you need to do. All of these forms are going to be attached to the webinar. Those that are a part of the tax exemption courses will have access to it. If you're not a part of the tax exemption courses, please do. But if not, you will have to purchase this individually and you will have monthly access to this information. So with that being said, that's going to be it. I will see you guys in the next video.